Okay, so thank you for saying bad trip, because I can't stand when people say there's no such thing as a bad trip. Okay. Is it true that even bad trips can be productive? Yes, it's absolutely true. But I don't understand why. Well, I do understand some of the reasons, but why is it, let's just ask ourselves, that we feel that we have the right when it comes to psychedelics to define someone else's experience? So in one study, people said that these difficult experiences or bad trips were one of the 5 most psychologically difficult experiences in their lives. I don't think anybody is rushing in to tell them that the other 4 weren't bad. They were just difficult. Okay. Is it true that a bad childhood can lead to making someone stronger ultimately? Yes, I think I'm a testament to that. I overcame that. Does that mean it wasn't bad? No. Do I want to repeat it? Would I have someone else go through it? No. So just because you can ultimately extract a lesson from something and it can be helpful to you doesn't mean it wasn't bad at the time. There is a fundamental misunderstanding of what happens during a bad trip. These substances help us complete incomplete experiences. Sometimes there are things that are very painful for us that we kind of turn away from and we don't complete, and they're stuck in us. Emotions have an arc. They have a beginning, a middle, and end. And if you don't finish them, they don't go anywhere. They want to finish and dissipate and die. But if you stop them here, they're just going to get stuck inside of you. So these substances come in, and in a strange way, I think they have a very high intelligence that's a little bit naive. They say, hey, you just need to look at this stuff and you're going to feel better. Therapists can take months or years doing that. Psychedelics have a few hours, and sometimes they just show us some of the most painful things that happen in our lives so that we'll complete them and go through them. How can something that was so painful that you turned away from it not be painful in the moment? This is not a bug, it's a feature. So it's not a mistake. I don't believe that there are any mistakes in the psychedelic experience. I believe that there are misinterpretations. I believe that there is insufficient preparation. And here's a very ironic thing. If you start telling people there's no such thing as a bad trip and it's just a little uncomfortable, when they get into a situation where they're going through a very difficult experience and it's really painful, they think, oh, something's wrong. This shouldn't be more than just a little bit uncomfortable. Then they start resisting it and wondering what's wrong. Now it's even worse. So we're doing people a disservice when we don't tell them this might be painful to you. Yes, there is such a thing as a bad trip. Does that mean that I won't learn something from it? No, you can absolutely learn something from it. It might be one of the best experiences you ever had in your life. That doesn't mean it won't be bad or painful at the time. Whether or not it's bad is something for you to determine, not for someone to tell you. It's one thing to have a saying, and I think this originated from the Zindo Project saying, even bad trips can be made into valuable experiences given some context. And that eventually turned into there's no such thing as a bad trip. It's one thing to have that meme flying around. And those awful cartoons, there's one of a guy riding a bike saying, me having a trip, me taking LSD, and then sticking a stick in the spokes of the bike saying, me refusing to deal with my own toxic shit. And then someone laying on the ground holding me saying, oh, I had a bad trip, mocking people. It's a terrible thing. How do we get to a place where we're mocking people for going through a difficult experience? That person is heroic. They've just gone through something very painful trying to help themselves. So why are we mocking them? But it's one thing to have that meme flying over. It's another thing to have something happen that I've seen in integration circles where someone says, yeah, I had a bad trip, and someone tells them to their face, there's no such thing as a bad trip. Sorry, don't do that to people. Don't invalidate people's experiences. Is there such a thing as a bad trip? Yes. Does that mean that it's just bad and you can't get something from it? No, you can absolutely extract something from it. It can be one of the most valuable things that's ever happened to you. That doesn't mean it wasn't bad when it happened. It's not a bug, it's a feature. It's not a mistake. That's what's supposed to happen.